Greetings, folks. This is Tim from Box Stock Garage. Just back with another episode of Tools with Tim. This is a pretty handy little set of tools that is actually quite inexpensive, especially when you consider everything that you get in the set. In fact, this isn't everything. But what these are clay sculpting tools. It's how they're presented on Amazon. And I got them for a couple of reasons. The first one is, when you're trying to get that tape for masking pushed into some of those areas, people talk about using a Q-tip. One of the Q-tips with the points on them. Of course, using a toothpick. But, sometimes a toothpick, depending on the tape, of course, and, other circumstances, you can tear the tape. And so what you get with these sculpting tools, this first two stacks of tools, I guess you say, are, and this thing has some weight to it. Okay. So probably not really useful in our hobby, simply because, the size of this ball. I mean, to give you an idea of the size of this thing, it's almost the size of the top of the Tamiya paint. So, probably the smallest one might come into play. And obviously they're double-ended, so you've got different size of these, metal tips, so you can use for shaping, or again, in my case, for getting our masking tape in just so. So those maybe not the best, simply because of the size, but again, depending on the model, I start building some of those larger scale models, this might come in handy. But then you get into these guys, and I'm trying to keep them in order of size. But let me grab this and see if that helps a little bit. Okay, these are much better. I mean, this is, tiny. And you look at the tip of a X-Acto, and that blade's snapped off the very tip. And then at the other end, those are all fairly consistent. But, this is great for, getting in. I mean, I'm going to use it when I put some tape on the F1 car, because I'm going to want to get, the tape down in here, and that's a perfect size. So very handy tools for for doing your masking work, and of course, for shaping as well. I mean, that's what they're originally for, is working with clay. So obviously, if you're wanting to potentially shape some plastic, I've seen people who heat up plastic to distress cars, dirt cars and circle track cars. You take something like this guy and a door, and I'm not going to do it to this door, no way. But you heat this thing up, and then you heat the plastic a little bit, and you could give it a bit of a push. I think you could probably even heat up this metal. It's something you'd want to test. The other thing that you get with and like I say, there's other tools. So I'm going to leave a link in the description. There's other tools that are, really for shaping clay, those wire tools and things like that. But the other thing that you get then is a set of 5 silicone brushes. I only use this one here. And this is just, again, personal preference, but you see you've got different shapes, kind of different angled shapes and things of that nature. But the one that I use is this one. And what I use this with is this. So when I'm putting windows in, I like to use Mod Podge. Obviously, other folks, there's the Tester's window glue, there's canopy glue, things like that. I like to use the Mod Podge, and I just take this, just slightly dip it in there, and then I can put on my windows. There is no way that I can demo this between looking through the phone and having the shakes. You're just going to have to believe me. Trust me, people. But I've got this side window in. Put this in last night. So this is one of them that I cut out for the drag car, and I got the back window in. I don't yet have the other side window or the windshield in. That's what these two pieces are, which if I angle them just right, there you can see. So I got the side window, the passenger side window, and I got the windshield. So those are going to go in a little bit later. But what I did with those and my handy dandy Mod Podge, first off, I definitely cut these oversized compared to the templates, which I showed the other day in my video. So I cut these about a 1/16 of an inch oversized all the way around. And then I got in, and you can see at the top, there's a little bit of Mod Podge there. So I just, take this brush, and I get in there with the Mod Podge. And, it allows me to spread it a little bit. And again, because it's this silicone pointed tip, I've got a lot of control over it. Even me, with this tremor. Same thing with the one that I did on the side. Just did this last night. You can see a little shine from the Mod Podge there at the back. So I just find these things really very handy. This brush I use on basically any kit that's got clear parts that I put on with Mod Podge, and basically that is my go-to for my clear parts. I use the Tester's window cement for doing gauge faces. So really handy tools. This whole set, plus these other pieces that I don't use, but you probably could. Plus a good sized sponge. All that is like, $9 on Amazon or something. And again, I think personally, it's really, it's worth the money. I suspect they probably have something like this at Hobby Lobby. I've never looked because I just, I picked mine up off of Amazon. But I will put a link in the description. And again, it's just another handy little set of tools to have in your toolbox. And I'm going to try and get these last two windows glued onto this thing. But like I said, I'm liking that so far. So we're all good. I did this, also used this with the car that I built for the 24 hours group build earlier this year, the Stone Woods and Cook Willys. Unfortunately, on that one, I didn't do quite as good a job, and I missed a spot, or it came apart, before it dried or whatever. So one of the windows is kind of tilted in a little bit, but I got to get the other two windows in, and then I got to get some decals on the side of this. So anyway, that's it. Silicone brushes, and I think they're called knurling tools or something like that, but it's all part of this Clay sculpting tool set. And like I said, I will leave a link for it in the description. So I think that's it for me. Hope you all get some bench time this weekend. Got smoke coming in from the fires up in Canada, so hope you folks in Canada are, staying safe. I'm just trying to keep my eyes from burning because I'm sensitive to that stuff, but could be a hell of a lot worse, so I'm not going to complain. I got eye drops. All right. So y'all have a great weekend. Get some bench time. Hug your loved ones. Prayers to all those out there that need it. And we'll catch you on the next one. This is Tim from Box Stock Garage. And Key, who's having a nap somewhere. We're out of here.